But Terry Norris, on the other hand, as we go to Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies
now.
and gentlemen, a very good evening to you, and we welcome you to the Core State Spectrum here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as we have a big night of action coming your way, and one of our featured attractions in the ring at this time, and it's all brought to you by Don King Productions and Miller Lite. At this time, we present a special unification bout for the WBC Super Welterweight and the IBF Junior Middleweight Championship of the World. This bout is sanctioned by the World Boxing Council, the President Jose Sulaiman, Supervisor Mario Latraverse, along with the International Boxing Federation. The President is Robert Lee Sr., and the Supervisor Darrell Peoples, along with the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission. Introducing to you the judges for this bout: George Hill, William James, and Barbara Perez. Introducing our referee in charge of this bout, working in this his 68th world title bout, Rudy Battle. All right, fans, here we go with the showdown for the WBC and IBF 154-pound championship of the world, scheduled for 12 rounds of boxing. Introducing first on my left, fighting out of the blue corner, he is wearing black trunks with gold trim and hailing from San Diego, California. He weighed in at the junior middleweight limit of 154 pounds. Here is the former U.S. amateur champion, whose record as a professional is unblemished, with 24 wins, no losses, and 12 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, making the first defense of his title, welcome the undefeated IBF Junior Middleweight Champion of the World, Paul the Ultimate Vaden. And his opponent across the ring on my right, fighting out of the red corner, wearing red trunks with white trim, fighting out of the First Fighters Squadron in Campo, California, by way of Lubbock, Texas. He weighed in at a trim and ready 151.5 pounds. His record includes 40 wins, 6 losses, with 25 wins coming by way of knockout. And here is the 3-time WBC Super Welterweight Champion of the World, introducing Terrible Terry Norris. And once again, a referee in charge, now to give instructions, Rudy Battle.
Okay, gentlemen, you both received your pre-fight instructions. I'd like to reinforce. I don't want any hitting on the break. I want a nice clean break at all times. In the event that a knockdown, fighter goes to the farthest neutral corner, you remain there until I signal to continue. Let's have a nice clean contest. Good luck to both of you. Touch them up. Touch gloves.
All right, the stage is set. Bob Sheridan is here on King Vision. Terry Norris in his red trunks. Paul Vaden in his black trunks. Again, this is a grudge match. They want each other. The suspect chin of Terry Norris will be in question here. Paul Vaden is not a big puncher. He had a real solid jab when he won the title, and a very effective left uppercut, as you saw. Vaden has never been down in his career. Here we go. Bill, number 1, who opened the fight in the first round. Both guys will look to throw punches wildly, will be Terry Norris, because he's a much faster starter than Paul Vaden. Both guys a bit cautious here in the first few seconds, but it's Terry Norris that wants to get things cranked up here. Vaden just sits back and waits kind of on Terry to come in. And Terry goes right after him, and Paul bounces away. This is scheduled again for 12 rounds, 154-pound division. It's a unification title match. Third man in the ring, Rudy Battle, a good one, working his 68th world title fight. We saw him as recently as a week ago in Stuttgart, Germany, as he did an excellent job in refereeing the Schultz-Francois Boda fight at that time. Vaden does a nice job spinning Terry away. And that's what Vaden has to do, is keep him outside for 3 or 4 rounds, try to keep off him, and then pick up his boxing skills as Terry Norris's aggressiveness is sapped when his energy is snapped a little bit later in the fight. Instead, Terry comes in, he digs to the body, digs back upstairs with an uppercut. Vaden just covers up and lets him come in. Vaden seems to want to let this guy come in. His idea now is to counterpunch him and let him try to wear himself down a little bit in the first couple rounds in the fight. You get that idea because Vaden hasn't been aggressive at all. Although he can plant his feet and counterpunch excellently, as we saw him against Vincent Petway. The right hand gets through and rocks Vaden a little bit. He has a history of having a very sturdy chin in that he's never been down in his career. But then again, he hasn't fought the class of fighters of a Terry Norris too often in his career. Norris has been in the very best fighters that this division has to offer. Guys like Carl Daniels, Maurice Walker, Simon Brown, Ray Leonard, Donald Curry, and he's beaten most of them. John Mugabe, Julian Jackson, Buster Drayton, Steve Little, Quincy Taylor, and on you can go with the experience of Terry Norris. For Paul Vaden, this is a step up in class to fight a guy like Terry. But Terry again has that history of a suspect chin. Whether Vaden can take advantage of it or not is what this fight's all about. Norris is continually the aggressor here in round number 1. Big looping right hand. He bangs him on the chin. About 40 seconds remaining in this, the first round of the fight, and Terry getting very aggressive here at different times here in the first round. Vaden again wants to sit back and counterpunch, and Terry's going to steal this first round if it continues this way. So far, Vaden hasn't been able to take any advantage of any suspect chin of Terry Norris. Norris very aggressive here in the early going. You get the idea that his adrenaline is pumping in full blast right now, and Vaden cautious, hangs on, grabs on to Terry, and walks back up the body. Doing a nice job of defense, and this is the way Vaden should fight Terry Norris, by the way. Closing seconds now, this is the first round. Sheridan back here for round 2 of the Terry Norris-Paul Vaden unification title match. The WBC Super Welterweight and IBF Junior Middleweight 154-pound division is at stake. We take this opportunity to welcome the several countries across the Pacific Rim that just have joined us around the world. Welcome to King Vision. If you've just joined us, coming up after this one, Mike Tyson and Buster Mathers. And of course, a couple of fights you missed. Henry Akinwande won a unanimous decision over Tony Tucker. And for the WBA Junior Middleweight Championship of the World, Julio Cesar Vasquez won a dramatic come-from-behind effort in an 11th round TKO victory. This one is a scheduled war, and so far it's living up to what it's been scheduled for. Vaden is sitting back and waiting a little bit. Terry Norris being very aggressive. We're in the second round of this unification title fight. It's scheduled for 12 rounds, and so far it's been the aggressiveness of Terry Norris and some of the slick punching of Paul Vaden that have been the difference in this fight so far. Again, this is only the second round as Terry Norris loads up a right-hand shot, hooks with the left that goes over the head of Vaden. He tries to get it through those gloves of Paul Vaden. Vaden goes with that right hand lead, then the left hand right back at Terry. Terry wild with the right hand and zooms over the shoulder. Now he's back looking for the opportunity to bang him on the ear. Instead, he takes a shot inside. Terry misses with the left hand, short with the left hand. The right hand tips him on the top of the head. And Terry Norris fires one on the left side of the jaw of Paul Vaden. Vaden just stands with his back up against the ropes. Not a good place to be against a guy like Terry Norris. Norris has got power. He'll come back down to the body. He'll dig with the ribs. He'll come with the uppercut. He will hurt you if you sit on the ropes. I'll guarantee you that. Paul Vaden will get hurt if he stays there. I don't care what kind of condition he's in. Terry Norris digs to the body behind that elbow in the area that really can hurt a guy if it continues like this. He digs behind the right elbow, back behind the left elbow. Vaden comes back with an uppercut of his own. Now Terry wild with that left hand that cuts him on the top of the forehead. Vaden back short with the left uppercut is Paul Vaden. Terry catches him with a long looping right hand in the nose of Paul Vaden. And Vaden's eyes are blinking, but he hasn't been hurt to this point. Terry ducks under everything that Paul throws. A combination of punches upstairs, then back downstairs, digs behind the left elbow of Paul Vaden. Vaden just sitting on the ropes. Big mistakes by Paul Vaden to sit there like this with Terry Norris, a guy that can bang with both hands. We're in round number 2, and Terry Norris is warmed up now. Paul Vaden seems that they're a little tentative in this fight, but this would be his fight plan coming in. The idea of sitting on the ropes is not what his corner wants, as Terry digs behind that right elbow. He comes upstairs with a straight right hand that's a little bit short on the nose, a little bit short with that uppercut, and Terry backs up, tries to get into the room, clips him with the right hand on that left jaw again. You see the time remaining inside of 19 seconds to go in the second round. This is all Terry Norris here. Paul Vaden just not effective here at all in the second round as Terry cuts him with the right on top of the nose. Paul Vaden doesn't back off, though. Terry comes back, tries to get some punching room. Nice left hook by Terry Norris, and Paul Vaden's eyes are blinking again. Terry feints left as the bell sounds. We're at the Philadelphia Spectrum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America. Terry Norris with his WBC Super Welterweight title on the line. Paul Vaden's IBF Junior Middleweight 154-pound divisional unification match here underway. This was scheduled to be a grudge match, and if anyone's got the grudge, it looks like Terry Norris has got the grudge because he's working extremely hard. That's the way he fights, though. He starts fast and tries to finish fast, tries to get guys inside of 4 rounds, tries to punish guys real early, take advantage early and stay very, very aggressive. Terry is aggressive in this fight and fighting very smart. Paul Vaden, on the other hand, has been a defensive fighter to this point in round number 3. He hasn't lost his cool at all. He did get caught sitting back in the ropes a few times, but he hasn't get caught with that real flush punch by Terry Norris. And as the rounds go by, things will sort of twist into his favor a little bit. As the rounds go by, Terry's aggressiveness will dwindle a little bit. But right now, that's a slip, and Rudy Battle right on top of it calls it a slip immediately. And that's what I mean when I say Rudy Battle, one of the fine referees. He's from Philadelphia, by the way, and a veteran of 68 world title fights as a referee. One of the very finest referees in the world today is Rudy Battle. You had a chance, if you watch King Vision regularly, to see him in action last week from Stuttgart, Germany, in the Francois Botha Axel Schultz contest. Again, we're in round number 3, about the midway point of round 3. You're watching King Vision. We're at the Philadelphia Spectrum, and Paul Vaden is decked out in black, Terry Norris in red. Terry the aggressor in the fight to this point. Paul Vaden trying to counterpunch. Terry up on his toes, bouncing around. Vaden off the rope, slides one way. Terry doing a nice job cutting the ring off, and now he's going to fall back in his own corner where he wants it. Let's see if he can dig any of those shots to the body. And Paul slides away at the yelling request of Jimmy Montoya, his cornerman over there. Does not want him in this position on the ropes. Terry comes to the uppercut. A couple of quick hands shown by Paul Vaden. Vaden stands back, tries to admire the work that he's done, and Terry's right on top of him again. Long looping left hand, that kind of jab in the face of Terry, and Terry's walking right through it now. See that little feint of the body as he dips down, comes up with the right hand, catches Vaden on the chin, but not flushly. And now he just, first time he did that, he just leaned over until he went down to the canvas. This time, he decides to come with the uppercut inside. Right hand to the body, back upstairs. Terry Norris is much more effective with his punches in the inside of 26 seconds to go now in the 3rd round. This is another good round for Terry Norris. But Vaden, he should be a little bit more aggressive, and I think you'll see more aggressiveness as this thing continues to go on, should it continue to go on. Closing seconds now of this, the 3rd round. This has become a very tough fight for Paul Vaden. And Paul, just one of the nicest guys you'd want to meet in boxing, now shows the combination of punches that led to his victory. Let's see if he can begin to turn it around, or if Norris will continue to maintain control of this fight. Terry holding the hands high, as you see, trying to do something to get Paul Vaden off balance. He stands right in front. Now he decides to bounce away from him. Well, you know, the fact that the questionable chin of Terry Norris has come into play in a few fights so far, to this point, Paul Vaden hasn't been able to do that. He's only landed a couple of combinations and all during the fight, but I'm sure as the fight progresses, he'll try to do that. But Terry has a real good adrenaline going right now. Almost got caught with the uppercut that time. When he wants to mix it up with Paul, he's got to be very careful he doesn't get clipped with the uppercut. Vaden very effective against Vincent Petway when he won the title with the uppercut, and we haven't seen a lot of them in this fight. But as Jimmy Montoya said in between rounds, okay, Paul, you're starting to catch up with him. And while Terry continues to pound away at the body and then back upstairs, Terry is still in command of the fight at this point. Appears to be stronger. In other words, Vaden can't really keep him off, but he does a pretty good job of counterpunching him. There's that straight left jab in the face of Terry that kept him off that time, and that one on the chin. But Terry able to come through it. And when Paul was back on the ropes, it's a big mistake. He's trying to get him and counter him with that uppercut. And Terry had better not get clipped with that uppercut or he'll go down. He does not take a heavy shot. We already saw tonight in one fight where a fighter was cruising along and had a chance, and it appeared to be an easy chance for victory, and then all of a sudden, out of sure defeat, did Julio Cesar Vasquez snatch a victory away from Carl Daniels with a dramatic 11th round TKO victory. Here's some pretty good action though on this one here. Vaden sits on the ropes and Terry takes advantage of it every time he does it. Left hand gets through, backs off Vaden again. Vaden goes with that right hand lead. Now they mix it up. Look at this. Both guys throwing punches in there. Terry Norris in the red trunks to the right of your screen. Vaden in the black continues to back off. Terry boxes that right hand off the forehead, gets the left through those gloves of Paul Vaden. Vaden just waiting for him to come in, goes with the sneaky right hand lead, then the left, tries to come with the left uppercut. No effectiveness there to Terry Norris's chin whatsoever. Now they're across the way over in Vaden's area again. That's Vaden's corner as he goes with that right hand lead. That right hand lead is an effective punch with a lot of fighters, but it doesn't have a lot of power unless you've got the hip going with it. And Vaden throws his right hand lead with his right foot back, so there's no power behind it. But it can set up a vicious left hook or an uppercut. Waiting seconds now of this the fourth round. This is a better Terry Norris round too, as he digs to the body, back upstairs, grazing uppercut, flips him on the nose, catches him on the chin. Vaden.
Nice and clean, looking good. Nice and clean.
Bob Sheridan here at the Philadelphia Spectrum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Terry Norris in red, Paul Vaden in black. Billed as a grudge match, and it really hasn't shown any sort of a grudge match type of fight because it's been very clean to this point. Part of that goes to the credit of the referee, Rudy Battle, who's one of the very finest in the business, as I've pointed out on a couple of occasions already. He has total control of this, so it's a clean fight. Now it just comes down to skill. Both of these athletes are tremendously skilled, and both of them are in magnificent condition. The body of Terry Norris, very, very cut. Paul Vaden a year younger, and his body's in tremendous condition as well. Remember, Terry's about 2.5, 3 inches shorter than Paul Vaden, and Vaden has a 4.5-inch reach advantage over Terry, but Terry's been able to get through. Vaden has that style like a lot of European fighters have, where he holds those gloves high by the cheeks and makes a difficult target for a fighter. But every time he gets him way up there, watch Terry go behind just like that. That one was a little low, and I'm sure that Rudy wanted to, without interfering, warn him about low blows. But when he covers up like that, Terry has the smarts to dig in behind the elbow. Julio Cesar Chavez made a career out of borderline low blows and digging behind the elbow, which is very, very effective in hurting fighters in later rounds. Guys just run out of gas when you take away the body. The head is soon to follow. And that's the old proverb of boxing, and actually it's pretty true. Right hand gets through. Look at these guys doing battle here. But Terry seems to be more effective, seems to be landing more, throwing more punches. Vaden every once in a while will answer, but he's not as effective as Terry Norris is at this stage in the fight. We're in the 5th round. Pretty grueling pace as there was in the Vasquez fight. And the question is, who has the heart and the late going the way this thing is unfolding? Remember, the book on this fight, coming into this fight, is that it would be Norris in the early going, and it's lived up to that. I've got Terry Norris winning each one of the first 4 rounds, and certainly ahead here in the 5th round. And then could he maintain it through the late rounds? And that's what this will have to show. Terry does have himself in great shape. There's no question about it. Paul Vaden fighting like a wounded rabbit over there in the corner now. Just sitting on the ropes. And again, I pointed out a couple of times, not a good thing to do against Terry Norris. He's getting away with it, but he's taking a lot of body punishment. He tries to answer with an uppercut. Not effective. Hasn't been able to catch Terry at all. Now Terry backs off in the waning seconds of this, the 5th round of the fight. Good pace. Good Terry Norris action. Now, in the scheduled 12-round unification battle at the 154-pound divisional level. In the ring, the principals in red trunks, Terry Norris. In the black trunks, Paul Vaden. They're both reigning world champions. Paul Vaden is undefeated at 24-0. Terry Norris has been in there many, many more times. He's 40-6, but has fought much more experienced fighters than has Paul Vaden. Right now, it's all Terry Norris in terms of the scoring. It's a closer fight than what the score indicates, but Paul Vaden hasn't done enough to win any round, in my opinion. Of course, the judges, George Hill from Philadelphia, William James of Arizona, and Barbara Perez of New Jersey will do the official scoring. And if they see it close to the way I'm seeing the fight, it's all Terry Norris in terms of the scorecards at this point. But the fight is closer than what it appears to be because they're just 10-9 rounds. All Terry is doing is outboxing him with each round. Paul Vaden, you get the idea, is waiting to let the adrenaline take over and really mix it up with him. He doesn't seem to be satisfied to go back on the ropes right now. He wants to fight more into the center of the ring. And as I say that, Paul backs off again. Terry comes through with a nice looping right hand that catches the left ear of the champion of certainly the IBF junior middleweight champ, Paul Vaden. Vaden lashes out with a left of his own, but it's a bit short. Terry catches him again with another right hand. That's another left in the face of Paul Vaden. And Terry beginning to tee off a bit here in round number 6, landing some good shots, ducking underneath the left hand of Paul Vaden. And really, Terry is showing that he's outclassing Paul Vaden. Vaden is, such a nice kid. You'd like to see him do well, but Terry is really outclassing him here. Vaden is almost an awkward-looking fighter at different times. You see the way Terry makes him miss, and Terry ever so much more aggressive. He goes right through the left jab of Paul Vaden. Every once in a while, Paul will plant his feet and come with a nice combination. It looks pretty good, but Terry is much more busy, much more aggressive, and a lot of it is real effective aggressiveness. There was a nice jab that time, the combination of punches thrown there, and another nice jab by Paul Vaden. But Terry, he just doesn't let it bother him. He comes right through it. And he does a nice job of slipping punches. He's dipping his shoulders, ducking his head, sliding his chin to the right, sliding it back to the left, ducking away from the left hand of Vaden, missing him, making him miss with the right, and then getting a right of his own. Now looking more to the body of Paul Vaden. Vaden back to doing something he should be doing, sitting in the ropes with the looping right gets through. The left hook by Terry Norris gets through. Terry bangs him with the right hand, comes with the uppercut. And Terry looking to dig to that body again as Paul sits back on the ropes. Here he goes. He comes over at the waist again, digs behind that elbow of Paul Vaden, and again he'll come to the body when he has him like this. Comes with the uppercut. Vaden tries to keep him off. He's back upstairs. Wow! The right hand is Terry Norris and Paul Vaden pushes him down, and then the uppercut comes from Paul Vaden. It doesn't back up Terry a bit. They stand toe-to-toe and try to slug it out of the... Here we are back to live action at the Philadelphia Spectrum. We're into the second half of this scheduled 12-round fight, and Terry Norris, as far as I'm concerned, the former basketball player, is pitching a baseball shutout. Every round I've got in his favor. Let's see if Vaden, now again, don't forget their fight plan was to try to cruise into the late rounds, but they're not going to cruise that way with a really loading up right hand by Terry Norris. Vaden, you wonder just how much more punishment he's going to take in this course of the fight. He seems fresh enough. He's got his legs. His eyes are clear. Nobody's been down. Nobody's been really shaken, but some heavy bombs beginning to land by Terry Norris. And now Vaden tries to tie him up a bit. This is a unification match. Third man really battle, keeping it nice and clean in there because these guys do not like each other. Terry Norris coming into the fight, and I'm sure, I wouldn't say unjust, but he said he wanted to kill this guy. I don't really mean that he wanted to hurt him, but he wanted to beat him up bad in there, I'm sure, because there's a lot of personal animosity between these two guys. And in the battle of animosity, Terry Norris is winning right now. He's also winning on the scorecards, I would think, of all the judges. You wouldn't need to be a tremendous judge to see that Norris is taking advantage of every opportunity to land shots on Paul Vaden. And again, a lot of the reason for that is that Vaden hasn't been in with the type of competition that Terry has faced. Terry's been in with the best there is as the blood begins to trickle from the nose of Paul Vaden. Now the crowd going a little bit. They don't like what they see. They don't realize just how hard these guys are working. Terry trying to set up a right hand is what he's trying to do, and he's showboating just a little bit, and he doesn't mean to be showboating for the crowd. What he's doing is trying to distract Paul Vaden. He's doing it with his left hand, and he wants to land the right hand bomb is what he wants to do. And if Vaden just stands flat-footed, he'll get nailed by it, and he does. He walks into that right hand right on the eye, and he comes with the uppercut. Terry a little bit frustrated in that he hasn't been able to dump this guy, but he's certainly landing the heavier bombs in the course of this battle. Terry has him back on the ropes where he wants him in a place that Paul Vaden shouldn't be. The left gets through. You see the way he's swinging that arm, trying to just distract the eyes. It's almost like the cape of a matador, distracting the bull and then dropping the sword, which would be the right hand. Instead, he comes with a left uppercut, and that's what Terry's trying to do. The crowd thinks he's showboating, but no, it's strategy. Terry Norris knows exactly what he's doing. Terry up on his toes, and again he distracts him and bangs him with the right hand right over that left eye. Paul Vaden walks into another right hand. About 5 or 6 good right hands landed by Terry Norris. And if he wants to beat him up, he's doing it right now. He's flat out beating up Paul Vaden right now. Vaden not answering with much. There's the hook that's upstairs. Digs to the body with the right hand. He comes back upstairs, goes back down with the body. The left hook to the right side of Paul Vaden. Lands the looping right hand. Card. Here we go, round number 8. But don't be lulled to sleep, because just a short time ago in this very arena here in the Philadelphia Spectrum, we saw a fight going on, and it was a tremendous effort by Carl Daniels, who was way out in front in the fight through 10 rounds, and all of a sudden in the 11th round, like a bolt out of the blue, shot caught up with Carl Daniels, and suddenly Julio Cesar Vasquez is the new reigning WBA junior middleweight champion of the world, based on one shot in the course of the fight. So don't be lulled to sleep, and I hope that Terry Norris doesn't get lulled to sleep either, because right to this point he's giving the same boxing lesson to Paul Vaden that was in the process of Carl Daniels doing to Julio Cesar Vasquez, because these guys can both punch. And again, we mentioned the suspect chin of Terry Norris, but when Norris has been down and has been shaken by fighters, it's been by guys that are a whole lot better punchers than Paul Vaden. Namely, Julian Jackson was the one that really started them, and it's no disgrace in the height of Julian's career to have been nailed by him, because he's one of the heavy-hitting middleweights of all time, and certainly Julian a tremendous puncher. Simon Brown, the same thing. I mean, these guys can punch. We're in the 8th round, and again, why the crowd is not pleased by this is because it's kind of a one-sided fight that Terry just seems to be able to do anything he wants. Halfway through this, the 8th round, and it's all Terry Norris. He's just flat out beating up Paul Vaden right now. Vaden goes with a light right hand lead, tries to do something with the left. Nothing there. Terry bouncing around, swinging that left arm. And again, I'm warning you people, but I should be warning Terry, don't get careless with this guy. Don't get tapped on the chin, because we saw one title change hands that was certainly evidently going the other way. Terry Norris right up on those toes, and just appears to be so much stronger than Paul Vaden, not only at this stage in the fight, but throughout the entire early going. We expected it in the early going, but we expected Vaden to do a lot more, beginning with about the 6th round and maybe the 5th round on. But instead, Norris has just lifted everything up a notch, and that's what great champions do. Terry Norris not only does not want to give up his title, the WBC Super Welterweight Championship, but he wants to lift the IBF title from Vaden as well. He'd love to become an undisputed champion, and may have, as you know, Don King put together great fights. They may have a chance to unify the title if he gets a shot at Vasquez now. That would be a great fight to see, providing it continues to go the way it's going right now in the 8th round. Vaden having a little bit better round here. He's decided to box a little bit more, but it's still Terry landing the brunt of the punches here through the 8th round. Vaden all of a sudden doesn't look too bad right now, but it's Terry the aggressor, and Terry landing more punches throughout the course of the 8th round. We're coming up to the closing bell of the 8th. Norris doesn't want to let him continue it now. And now let's see if Vaden can do what Jimmy Montoya said and say, start backing up Terry. This is the 9th round. It's scheduled for 12. And it's been all Terry Norris to this point. And this WBC Super Welterweight IBF Junior Middleweight 154-pound unification match. First one since the original Chiquita Gonzalez-Michael Carbajal fight dating back to March of 1993. And there's always excitement when they unify titles. And if you think this is going to be exciting, wait until Mike Tyson begins it in the heavyweight division. You'll see Mike in action very shortly against Buster Mathers Jr. That's the main event coming up a little bit later on. Right now, we're in the 9th round of a fight that has been all Terry Norris to this point. It's been Norris giving Paul Vaden a boxing lesson. And Paul, although he wants it bad, just can't seem to deal with the movement of Terry. And when Terry gets very aggressive, Paul has gone back on the ropes and tried to catch. Terry has been effective. There's a long right hand that gets through that time. Vaden short with his. Terry with his bouncing movement makes him miss. He ducks underneath the left hand of Paul Vaden. Vaden has a look in his face of frustration as his jaw hangs down, and you can see the frustration in his eyes. Meanwhile, Terry Norris up on his toes, bouncing around left and then back right. He throws the left hand out, which is a little short. Right hand digs to the body below the heart underneath that elbow of Vaden. It's been there all night. Vaden's body has taken a lot of punishment in this fight. And every time Terry waves that hand out, the crowd doesn't like it, but it's been effective in distracting Paul Vaden to the point where Terry has landed some pretty good right hands. Vaden hasn't been down. In fact, Vaden not only hasn't been down in this fight, he's never been down in his career. So he takes a good shot. And tonight it's a question of just being outboxed by Terry Norris to this point. We're in the 9th round, and now Vaden tries to pick it up just a notch, trying to get a little bit more busy, but Terry takes it right away from him. Every time Paul wants to mix it up and get busy, Terry takes the play right away from him. Terry with the hands high walks into a stretched out left, but comes in and lands a left hook and then a right hand behind the ear of Paul Vaden. The straight left hand in the face of Vaden. Another straight left in Vaden's face. Vaden backing off now with his back up against the rope. Walks into the right hand. Now watch Terry load up with that right. He'll dig it upstairs if he can. Otherwise he'll go down to the body with a left hook. Look at Terry ducking away from shots by Vaden. Vaden just hasn't seen anything with this kind of ability. Terry does a lot of things that I think we see him so many times in King Vision. He's really showing me what a slick fighter he is against a pretty good opponent and a world champion in Paul Vaden. Terry comes lunging with the left that catches Paul to the right ear. Paul is definitely frustrated by the footwork, the bouncing around of Terry. And pitching a shot on my scorecard. I got him out in front 90-78, winning every single round. This is the 10th round. It's scheduled for 12. Paul Vaden, who happens to be the IBF junior middleweight champion, had better do something now, and Terry got a little bit off balance that time as he bounced around backwards. All right, Terry Norris in the red trunks had better stay right busy and continue to do things that he's been doing throughout. Paul Vaden wants to take the play away from him as he goes digging with the left hand in the face of Norris, but instead it's Norris right back up on those toes again, holds the left hand high, lands the right hand. Paul bounces off the ropes this time himself, and Terry looking for the opportunity to land that big right hand and try to finish this thing quickly. Hasn't been able to land the heavy shot yet. Terry just taunting, visually taunting Paul Vaden anyhow. He's been doing it with that left hand throughout the course of the fight to try and distract him. Anything to land that big right hand. This time he goes downstairs, but again, Terry had better not get careless. Carl Daniels found out that it's very, very dangerous to fool around with a guy of world championship caliber when he got in trouble against Julio Cesar Vasquez a little bit earlier this evening, and Vasquez was apparently going to lose the fight, and Daniels way out in front. It looked like he was going to win the WBA junior middleweight championship, and then all of a sudden he walked into a shot in the 11th round by Julio Cesar Vasquez, and Terry Norris had better be sure that the same thing doesn't happen to him, as Paul Vaden is a game fighter, and it was the 12th round in his fight against Vincent Petway when he scored the tremendous combinations that ended Vincent Petway's reign as champion of the world. This is probably the best round that Vaden has had in the fight, but Terry's still scoring and definitely in control. Vaden trying to land shots, but he is short on the shots that he's trying to land. And that has to do with the positioning of Terry, the in and out movement, the side-to-side movement, getting the angles, taking the angles away from Vaden. Vaden comes with the uppercut, comes back, and Terry just shakes his head. Now, you can't hurt me. He's telling him, he's sending him a message. You can't hurt me. Goes with the right hand lead, then digs downstairs with the body, back upstairs with the left hand, digs below that left elbow, and Paul Vaden with the right hand, and there he goes again with it. Underneath that left elbow, upstairs with the right hand, catches him with a left hook, and Vaden finally has to come out of his corner. Now this time there's a string hanging from, or a piece of tape hanging from the glove of Paul Vaden, and time is back in. As the referee Rudy Battle, instead of stopping the action, just takes the tape off himself. Bounces that left off the forehead again of Vaden, the right hand lead, the left behind the ear of Vaden. Vaden stands flat-footed in the center of the ring, tries to go with the left, and Terry makes him miss. In the closing seconds of the 10th. Not a big dramatic round for Terry, but I think he's landed more than his Paul Vaden. As he backs off, Vaden comes forward, then Terry plants his feet, and Terry trying to finish the closing seconds, and he does. Terry Norris, as we go to round 11 here for the unification of the 154-pound division It's been Terry Norris all the way. I have him winning every single round of the fight by the score of 10-9. Just flat out boxing Paul Vaden throughout. And Vaden's a good one. He ought to be good. He's undefeated, 24-0. Never been down in the history of his career. But Terry Norris, in all fairness, has fought a lot better fighters in his career with a record of 40-6 and 25 KOs. He has really been giving a boxing lesson to Paul Vaden in this one tonight. It was billed as a grudge match, but it's been a clean fight. It's been just Terry Norris taunting and attracting Vaden in, putting Vaden back on the ropes, taunting him with the left hand, landing right hands, digging body shots to him throughout the fight. Pace has slowed down just a bit here in the 11th, but it's been a fast pace in this fight, with Norris doing just about as he's pleased throughout the course of the fight. See Terry coming upstairs with the left hand. Again, he's been bouncing around. You see that Terry's up on his toes and bounces around and continues to bounce around. And we showed you in between the 8th and 9th round exactly what we meant when we had the tight shot on the feet of Terry Norris and how many fighters can stay up on their toes like he's been constantly throughout this fight. Every once in a while he'll settle down and plant the feet and then he'll go and try to load up a big right hand. He hasn't been able to land the big right hand really flush, but he's landed a lot more up on the forehead, up on the back of the temporal area, the occipital area, behind the ear, alongside of the ear of Paul Vaden, and he's really landed many, many more punches. And that's why Vaden appears a bit tentative right now, because he hasn't had any success with Terry Norris. Again, just flat out beating him up is Terry Norris. If he wanted to send a message to Paul Vaden, he's sending a tremendous message to him, because he's really doing a job outboxing him tonight. We're in the 11th round. Of course, it's scheduled for 12. It's the championship territory. And in the championship territory, it makes fighters do some strange things. Some guys, it makes them quit when they get to this area of being tired. Other guys, it makes them very, very strong and very, very champion-like. And that's what Terry Norris hopes to continue here through the 11th round as he's up on the toes, throwing combination of punches. Not too much landing, but that left cut through the right hand grazed the chin of Paul Vaden. Vaden trying to hold his own here and planting his feet in the center of the ring and letting Terry come to him now. He's been doing that a lot during the course of the fight, but then he gets shell-shocked again, protecting himself. He's held the hands up high across his face a good part of the time in the fight, now that he's fallen into the ropes. And referee Rudy Battle has to separate the two guys from only and a few times in the fight, for a fight that you expected to be such a difficult fight for the guys. Paul showing a bit of heart, and you don't become a world champion without heart, and showing some here. It was in the 11th round that he...
Nice. Let's touch gloves and have a nice clean last round. Looking good.
Here we go. Terry Norris in red, Paul Vaden in black. At stakes, both the IBF and the WBC 154 championship belt buckle.
Nice and clean.
And both of them won it. So far, I've got Terry Norris pitching a shutout, going to the 12th, leading 110-96. It would take a knockout for Vaden to win. And that happened once tonight when Carl Daniels was cruising along, leading 97-92 through 10, and all of a sudden, he got knocked out in the 11th round. I doubt it's going to happen in this one, because Terry just appears to be too strong for Paul Vaden. Back up on the toes is Terry, swinging that left, trying to distract Vaden again. He comes with the uppercut. While with the right hand was Terry, and Paul just standing flat-footed in the center of the ring, allowing Terry to just bring the fight to him. Goes with one of those sneaky right hand, and then the left hand bounces off the forehead of Terry, but it does no damage to him at all. And now Terry backed off and hit for one of the few times in the fight that he hasn't been in the process of throwing a punch. Terry just seems to have the adrenaline going his way. He's got the determination in his eyes. He has a determined look in his mouth. His whole expression is, I'm in control of this thing. I don't want you, I want you bad. And Vaden, on the other hand, has a look of terror on his face. He has a look of a beaten fighter, and he is a beaten fighter to this point. The thing isn't over for another minute and 32 seconds. Well, Terry has really looked tremendous. He's taken the play away from this awkward fighter named Paul Vaden. Paul, a guy with a perfect record, in jeopardy of it going right down the chute with this fight here, because it's been all Terry Norris tonight. The right hand gets through, the left hand gets through by Vaden, but it doesn't do any damage to Terry at all. His left bounces off the chin. He feints right again. Comes back up, makes ducks underneath the left hand of Vaden. Bottom of the right hand is the champion, Terry Norris. Terry, both of these guys are champs, by the way, as you know. But look at Terry throwing the punches and landing shots. Vaden satisfied to sit back in the ropes. Terry loads up the right-hand cannon, and it doesn't land in exactly the right spot. Vaden has not been down at any time in this fight, but he certainly is a beaten fighter. We're in the 12th and final round of a unification 154-pound championship fight. Vaden sitting on the ropes, trying to get lucky, catching Terry Norris, who has a history of having a chin that can be a suspect, but it's not going to happen tonight. It's all Terry Norris. He digs behind the elbow. He tries to really give you the idea that he wants to end it, but the count is inside of about, well, we're inside of 10 seconds now, so there's going to be no knockout in this fight because the bell signifies the end of the round and the fight when it sounds. And Terry Norris has just had a tremendous fight tonight. All Terry Norris. I have it scored 120 to 105. Terry Norris, a total shutout. A brilliant boxing show by Terry Norris. When you go in against an undefeated champion and you give him a boxing lesson like Terry Norris, in my opinion, gave to Paul Vaden, that is some credit to a fighter like Terry Norris. In my opinion, he won every single one of the 12 rounds of this fight. A terrific effort, tremendous preparation, and great execution right down the line by Terry Norris. 120 to 105 is the way I have it in my scorecard. Jimmy Lennon Jr., a tremendous ring announcer, will gather the scorecards of George Hill of Philadelphia, William James of Arizona, and Barbara Perez of New Jersey, and they will give us the official scoring. But there's no doubt in this one, no matter what strange things happen in boxing, it can be no other way but a unanimous decision for Terry Norris. This was just, I mean, one of the most brilliant efforts that you could ask for in boxing. A tremendous, tremendous effort by Terry Norris. I just can't say enough about his preparation and conditioning and ability to execute what he did during the course of the fight. Terry Norris really showing the world championship form that is synonymous with being the word champion tonight. And Terry will not only retain his WBC super welterweight champion, but he's on his way to becoming the IBF junior middleweight champion. So he'll hold two of the belts, and will Don King give us the thrill of putting together a championship fight that'll bring out Julio Cesar Vasquez and have a unification again? That remains to be seen. But it just wasn't the night for Paul Vaden. Something was off. Something was wrong. And believe me, Paul Vaden is one of the most likable kids in all of boxing, but it wasn't meant to be. We're waiting for the official scoring, and I'm sure it's going to be a unanimous decision and very heavily in favor of Terry Norris, and I'm sure that he will become and has unified the 154-pound divisions in both the WBC and the IBF. And as soon as Jimmy Lennon has the scorecards together, we will make it official. But it's academic.
You got it.
We've got a unified title, and it's going to be Terry Norris. And all we have to do is wait for Jimmy Lennon, and as soon as he has it, we will have it. And the gentleman from the WBC and the IBF will be making the presentations of the belt to Terry Norris. Just a brilliant effort all the way. I had it a shutout. No matter what the judges have it, I'm sure they've got to have it close to that, because it was just a brilliant effort all the way by Terry Norris. Jimmy seems to be moving into position, and we should be going momentarily to our ring announcer, Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, we have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Barbara Perez scores about 118-110. George Hill sees it 119-109. William James scores about 120-108 in favor of the winner of the unified WBC and IBF 154-pound World Championship, Terrible Terry Norris.
So So no surprise there. This Terry Norris, a unified champion. And when you think back to the trilogy with Luis Santana and the trouble he had and the frustrations that he went through, and he hung in there to not only get back his WBC crown from Luis Santana, but now to unify the IBF and the WBC in the first unification match since 1993 when Chiquita Gonzalez and Michael Carbajal fought. A tremendous preparation. Can't say enough for Terry Norris. One thrilled gentleman. And for Paul, I don't know what it was, whether it was frustration. I thought the fight plan was probably accurate, but tonight there's a night that belongs to Terry Norris. And if you missed the other 154-pound championship fight, a brilliant effort and a come-from-behind effort by Julio Cesar Vasquez of Santa Fe, Argentina, when Carl Daniels cruising along almost as comfortably as Terry Norris was against Paul Vaden through 10 rounds. And then like a bolt out of the blue, get clipped with a left hook, and that's all she wrote. He just couldn't recover from Vasquez's punch.
Hey guys, hey security, hey, these guys out here with these fanatics.
I think you're going to bring me back.
Hello again, everybody. Bob Sheridan back here at the Philadelphia Spectrum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America. You've just seen an interesting unification of the WBC Super Welterweight Championship and the IBF Junior Middleweight Championship, and the first unification match in 3 or 4 years. Terry Norris just totally outclassed Paul Vaden. Not a terrific fight in terms of the competitiveness of it, but the WBA Junior Middleweight Championship fight, the other 154-pound division, and the WBA saw Carl Daniels apparently way out in front in his fight against Julio Cesar Vasquez, and then Vasquez come back and clip him with a shot that ended the fight like a bolt out of the blue, and pick up and regain the WBA Junior Middleweight Championship. So Terry Norris now holds the crown on the WBC and the IBF, and Julio Cesar Vasquez is the brand new WBA Junior Middleweight champ.